Hi there, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. I'd like you to think of today's class as on-the-go stretching, a great way to combine mindful movement, stretching for an all-body workout. Great if you are pressed for time, but even better if your time on the mat today comes on the week of a really stressful day or week and you really need some time to decompress in a functional way. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify if you need to, ease your way into child pose and take a time out at any time during the class should you need it. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today's class in a 4-point kneeling frame. Ease your way down onto the knees and the hands. Find your frame and tuck your toes under for me as you situate yourself in the frame so that you start to get a nice stretch into the arches of your feet. Give me a nice long tabletop line. Watch that you're not collapsing through your frame. Push the mat away. Lengthen through your spine. Keep your belly button softly pulled into center as we set up a gentle flow. Extend opposite arm and leg. Let's do left leg, right arm, coming into a beautiful little stretch, bracing into that back leg. Ease your way back to 4-point kneeling and find a down dog. Ease your way back to 4-point kneeling, opposite arm and leg on the other side. We're going to use that as a little flow. Ease your way back to 4-point kneeling and down dog it. Start flowing side to side. Coming to table, setting up your opposite arm and leg stretch, bracing into that back leg and taking a good stretch before you ease your way back to table and find your down dog. Alternate side to side, shooting for maybe 5 repetitions on each side. And move with your breath. Start taking note of your inhalation and your exhalation pattern and try to sync your movement to your breath so that you begin working mindfully on the mat and start putting all your other troubles one side. Make this your last round. Ease your way back to the tabletop line. Opposite arm and leg. Let's do left leg, right arm, coming into the extension. Stay here. Or take that floating back leg, bend it. Reach opposite hand to foot. We're going to set up a tiger. Square up through the shoulders and the hips. Try to keep your anchoring foot tucked under today so that you're not only working on that stretch into the arch of your foot, but you're challenging your balance just a little bit. Ease your way from here back into a down dog frame. Pause there for a beat, taking a nice stretch into the front and the back chain of the body. Almost feeding your head through the hands as if you wanted to bob your nose towards your knees and trying to anchor as much as you can through the whole foot. Not leaning into the heels of your hands. Think of gently clawing through the fingertips, almost hollowing out underneath your palms and drawing the energy up into the arms, the chest, the upper back, and the shoulders. Then soften the right knee and kick up into a soft 3-legged dog, giving me a soft toe line or a braced foot, depending on where you need your stretch today. Pause here, trying to equalize the weight distribution on the 3 points of contact on the mat. We're going to swing through into a warrior 2-like position and take it straight into a reverse warrior. So think knee to nose as you step through to the inside of the right hand. Drop the back leg to 90. Windmill your arms open, dropping the back hand to your back leg, inverting the front hand and cupping it around your chest, looking up towards that palm that's overhead, and just trying to drop a little bit lower through the pelvis as you find your reverse warrior. Pause here, making sure that you've got knee over ankle on the lead leg. Then softly begin dropping the arms down alongside your body. Pivot on the back toe, relax the back knee and shin to the floor, or you can keep the toe tucked under if you want to work into that calf. And just take a little gentle crescent lunge-like stretch, floating both hands overhead If you've got that back toe tucked under, give me a little tilt of the pubic bone to the 12 o'clock position so that you can feel even more of a stretch into the hip flexors. Then maybe gently dropping your hands to the floor, framing your lead leg on either side. See if you can float the back foot off the floor. Reach opposite hand to foot. Think of that tiger stretch that we did earlier on. Bumping the weight forward again and then seeing if you can come up and find a little balancing stretch. Maybe reaching opposite hand. So left hand to the outside of the right knee, pulling the knee in and resisting with the knee as you gently hug that back foot in. To enable that back foot to come in, don't tense the back leg. Just soften the whole back leg. Think soft quad, soft hamstring, soft glutes. Hold. Ease your way from here gently into a lunge line. Bringing that back knee off the floor. And if you're really tight in the groin, just give me a couple of gentle rocks back and forth. Feel that opening into the groin area. And try to end for me with the weight back into the heel. If you can, plant both hands firmly into the mat and almost push off the mat as if you were setting up a plank line. Keep that little tuck of your tailbone, belly button pulled in, so that you're actively working that back leg, and don't lean the weight forward. Keep pushing the weight back into the back heel. We're going to use this lunge line to set up a pyramid. Think of scooching up the back leg just a little bit. We're going to take it quite wide today. Both sets of feet are looking to the front of the mat. And at first, I'd like you to lean the weight into the front leg and come onto the toes of the back leg so that your back heel is off the floor. Focus on a beautiful stretch along the entire chain, back chain of that lead leg. And if your fingertips don't reach the floor, you could maybe use a block on either side or just brace the hands on your hip bones if you prefer. Then try to ground the back foot as you peel the front toes off the mat. Really get into the calf and that tight little knot at the back of the lead knee. Try to anchor through the whole back leg if you can. All 5 toes on the back foot connected to the mat. Let's do that one more time. Bring all the weight into the front foot. Come onto the toes of the back foot. Maybe trying to float your nose a little bit closer towards the lead knee as you come into your pyramid, Superundersana. Then transfer all the weight into the back leg. Peel the toes of the front leg off the mat, toes looking up towards the ceiling. Keep your belly button firmly pulled into center while you play. And then think of easing your way back into that lunge line. We're going to set up a pigeon. So maybe give me high fingertips on the mat if you can. Bend the lead leg, either squaring up the front foot so that you've got knee and ankle in a straight line, knee in line with your hip or slightly wider, or you can tuck the foot in closer to the perineum. Relax the front leg, relax the back leg to the mat. Slide, walk, or creep the back leg away and just gently wiggle around till you've squared up through the pelvis and the shoulders. Then ease your way onto the forearms, into a Sphinx-like position, or come into full extension as you find Ekapada, Yakakottasana, one-legged pigeon. Maybe taking a nice extended stretch here. Trying to find that balance through the pelvis and the shoulders. So try not to drop lower on one side. Try to keep the weight distribution equal on both sides of the spine. Maybe closing the eyes and taking your focus in and taking a nice deep stretch here. Electing to stay here or morph your way into a thread the needle from this current position in extended pigeon. Keep your right hand where it is. So you're going to be threading towards your lead leg. Take a big breath in. You're going to thread the left arm underneath the right armpit, dropping lower on your left shoulder as you almost think of peeping underneath your right armpit to the ceiling. So getting a little bit more rotation through the hips and really starting to feel the stretch in the outer quadrant of that right leg, feeding into the glute and the groin area. Ease your way back into your extended pigeon. And then gently creep your way back onto the palms. Sit your weight into the right cheek and swing the left leg in front. We're coming into head to knee. Sole of the right foot on the inseam of the left leg. I'd like you to just take a gentle stretch forward. Maybe placing both sets of hands on the floor or reaching for the undercarriage of your foot. If you can reach it, you could use a belt or a strap. Or if you have a block, you could hook the block around your foot. Or you could even just find a comfortable lean-in position, placing the block on the inseam of your extended leg. If you can, maybe crossing at the wrists and reaching for the undercarriage of your foot as you come into Janus Asana. Taking a couple of mindful breaths here, thinking nose to knee as you come down. And then bending that lead leg as you tip the weight just off your tailbone, and you can lean back using the back hand for support and come into a modified heron, trying to keep same hand to foot on the lead leg as you take a nice little stretch here, trying to open up through your chest. Think of floating the two shoulder blades closer together along the midline of the body and expanding your chest laterally as you take a couple of deep breaths here. Ease your way back into your head to knee stretch, maybe crossing at the wrists as you find the undercarriage of your foot, maybe drawing the two elbows away from each other as you try to draw your nose closer towards your knee. Play where you're comfortable. Trying to relax that left kneecap. The kneecap's going to keep wanting to come float up towards the ceiling. Try to tell yourself to just relax it gently into the mat. Take a couple of deep breaths here. And then think of unbinding from your foot and trying to drop onto the forearms between the two legs, keeping your current head to knee position on the mat. We're going to use this frame to try to set up a pigeon line from here. Look at your extended leg. You're going to start bending it, tucking it behind you. You're going to swivel back to center and try to find a modified pigeon on the right again. Holding here for a few breaths. Don't collapse your frame. Push off the forearms. Keep belly to spine as you think of squaring up through the shoulders and the hips. And then see if you can use this frame to set up an elbow plank. Focus on your back, extended leg, tuck the toe under, bring the knee up off the floor and slide your front leg back. Bringing your body line nice and parallel to the floor, maybe taking a couple of rocks back and forth. Getting into all those nooks and crannies. You're going to start lowering your belly down to the mat and you're going to come into a soft Sphinx-like pose. Relax the feet soft and parallel. Don't collapse your frame. Push off the elbows and the forearms and try to think of growing from the mid-back towards the nape of your neck. Not hyperextending and throwing the head back, but just giving me a nice long neutral line through the spine. Maybe keeping your gaze down on the mat just in front of your fingertip line. Ultimately, just looking for that length in the spine. From here, you're going to ease your way onto the belly and we're going to set up a swan line. So as you start peeling down, chest towards the mat, slide your hands and your fingertips back so that your palms are set up towards the lower end of your rib cage. We're coming into a swan and you can play small or you can take it into a rock. Start with your forehead on the mat. Pretend you've got a little marble underneath your nose. Begin rolling the marble away to the front of the mat and peel up slowly. Stop with your bottom three ribs heavy into the mat. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Pause here And then we're going to come up really slowly. Push up a little bit further, resting on your belly button. Push up a little bit further, resting on the 2 hip bones. Further still, resting on the pubic bone. Further still, resting on the tops of your thighs. And then fully extending through the arms, coming to rest on your kneecaps with the heels of your hands tucking underneath your armpit. Come down with the same amount of control. Bending softly through the elbows, connecting first the top of your thighs. Then your pubic bone, your 2 hip bones, your belly button, the bottom 3 ribs. The rest of the rib cage follows as you tuck under. Rinse and repeat, or come into a pistoning rock by pushing all the way up and back down. And as you come down, lift the feet off the mat so that you resemble a little rocking chair, pistoning the arms up and down as you rock back and forth. As you come down on your last rock, float the arms alongside the body and connect your whole body to the mat. Floating just your legs off the mat while keeping your head and your hands on the mat, and reach long and lengthen through the toes, trying to extend from your hip bones to the tips of your toes. Then softly float the legs down and give me a little chest lift. Peeling up, bottom rib connected to the mat, making the hands heavy into the mat and almost reaching through your fingertips. Then trying to keep the integrity of that frame as you float the legs up and the arms off the mat and come into a full locust with a soft bow-like shape through the body. If this is too much for you, drop your frame closer to the mat. Think Superman, with your body line just hovering off the mat and a straighter line through the spine. If you feel comfortable in the locust line and you'd like to try the next progression, ease your way into a bow frame by bending the legs one at a time, reaching back with your hand to find a nice grip position around the ankles. Try not to V the knees up, try to keep them hip-width distance apart. And then think of floating the soles of your feet up to the ceiling, getting more of a bow shape through your back, trying to keep the knees in that parallel line. Maybe staying still, or perhaps gently rocking hip bone to belly button, if you prefer. Find what works for you today. Ease your way from here back to the mat, fingertips connecting to the floor, and push back into child pose. Maybe big toes softly touching, knees just gently opening a little bit to allow a little bit more room for your torso as you take a nice extended child stretch, maybe creeping back through the hands and trying to drop your bottom as close to the heels as you can manage. Take a couple of mindful breaths here. Remember that child pose Bakasana is your rest or recovery pose at any time should you need it. Ease your way into a 4-point kneeling frame from here. Square up in the table line that we set up right at the beginning of the class, and use it to set up a modified side plank. We're going to swivel to the right, and you can bring, as you swivel to the right, you can bring the right leg in so that you've got knee and ankle aligned, and just gently come into a modified side plank, extending the top arm and trying to take a nice stretch from your toes to the tip of your fingers. Take a big breath in to prepare, and then on the exhale, draw the top elbow and knee towards each other as if you wanted to tap and come back to extension. Do that a few times, drawing knee to elbow, and then reaching as long and lengthened as you can, really trying to open up through the ribs. Last one. Think of that tiger stretch that we played with early on. As you think knee to elbow, start running your hand down the chain of the leg, reach for the bridge of your foot, then kick the foot into your hand, and think of tucking your pubic bone to the 12 o'clock position so that you can get an awesome stretch into the hip flexor. Ease your way from here back into your tabletop line. We're going to come into Cow Chakra Bakasana. Inhale to prepare, taking your chin and your bum bones to the ceiling, hollowing out your back. And then exhale to round out, nodding your chin to your chest. Start playing dynamically between the cat and the cow, finding a little rhythm of your own. Try not to sway the body back and forth. Just keep your frame steady for me today and almost use it to get a nice release and a stretch into the back. Work that contraction through the core. Playing maybe today with a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2 inhalation to exhalation, depending on where you need the stretch. So if you need a little bit more stretch in the spine, give me a 1-to-2 exhaling and holding your cat a little bit longer than your cow. Ease your way back into a neutral table line and tuck your toes under. We're coming into a modified camel line. Check that your feet are stacking, or rather not your feet, your knees are stacking underneath your hips as you gently peel up. Keep those toes tucked under so that you're working into the arches of your feet. And place your hands, fingertips looking down to the mat, just on the top of your bottom so that you can softly push down on your lower back area. Think of gently bumping your hips forward so that your hips are over your knees. As you come into a gentle camel stretch, think of floating the two shoulder blades and the elbows as close together along the midline of the body as you can comfortably manage. Get an awesome stretch into the lower belly area and keep your chin line just soft. Then keeping both hands in position, just think of lengthening through the spine and taking a step forward with the right leg. Think knee over ankle as you come forward and take a gentle little quad stretch here. If this feels good for you, reach the left hand to the outside of the right knee. Pull with the hand as if you were trying to pull the knee across the midline of the body and resist with the knee. And at the same time, you're using that back hand to gently push down on the sacrum and lower back area on the right. Just take a couple of mindful breaths here. Try to keep the back toe tucked under if you can manage it there. A few more breaths here, and then we'll come to a lifted gate before we seat our gate down. Relax the toes of the back leg. Take a little swivel on the mat. Extend the front leg. Try to reach fingertips to floor and just take a soft little gate stretch, floating your right arm overhead and trying to open up through the rib cage as much as you can. Use this frame to set up a little gate line, a seated gate line, Peringasana. Sit your bum down on the mat and extend the right leg away. You're trying to tuck the back heel in as close to your bottom as you can comfortably manage. Maybe shooting for a nice 90-degree between the two legs, or maybe floating the knees closer together if that feels more comfortable for you. Just take a little stretch here, maybe gently creeping your way forward, trying to frame the forearms either side of the lead leg, or reaching around the foot, using your belt or your strap, or modifying again with your block. Finding the head to knee variation that works for you. Then maybe try to get a little bit more work through the trunk by bringing the right elbow to the inside of the right knee. You could use the block for a little bit of leverage if you need to. Pushing with your elbow and your forearm actively against the leg. Floating the left arm up to either stop in T, or maybe come a little bit closer towards your ear, or maybe you reach for the outer quadrant of your foot and find a nice binding spot. If you feel that keeping the elbow position flush to the floor is not enough work for you, you can maybe give me a big toe lock with the bottom arm, keeping that elbow connected to the floor, and then come into your bind. Just do what feels the most intuitive for you today. Hold that stretch. And then maybe finding some additional work for that bottom arm by rotating in So fingertips looking towards your body line, tucking the hand underneath your body, reaching for the ankle of the bottom leg, and trying to get a little bit more rotation through the trunk as you gently peek up to the ceiling. Play where you're comfortable. Gently begin rotating out and find your way into child pose from here. Maybe pressing into the fingertips, swinging your lead leg back, readjusting your feet, big toes together, knees open nice and wide, taking an extended stretch in child. Or if you need to relax the shoulders, maybe just draping them alongside the body with the palms looking up to the mat. You could even use a block underneath your forehead if you need a little bit of support as you find the child line that works for you. Ease your way from here back into 4-point kneeling. Tuck your toes under. We're going to begin that whole little sequence once more. Think opposite arm and leg. Let's do left arm, right leg, bracing into that back foot. Come back to your table line and float into a down dog. Ease your way back to table and take opposite arm and leg on the other side. Starting to create a gentle flow of your own, moving from the table to the opposite arm and leg, and then floating into a down dog frame. Body should feel a lot warmer now, so as you come into the down dog frame, you should be able to get those feet flush to the floor or a lot closer to the floor than you were able to in round one. Let's do last one. Ease your way back to your tabletop line. Let's do left arm, right leg coming into extension. Then reach back, opposite hand to foot. Think of squaring up through the shoulders and the hips. Try to keep the toes of your grounding leg tucked under so that you're working into the arch of that foot as you find Tiger, the Peringasana. Ease your way from here into your down dog frame. Pause there, take a beautiful stretch into the front and the back chain of the body as you find Adho Mukha Svanasana. Think of floating your nose closer towards your knees and just enjoy the stretch. Ease your way from here into a 3-legged dog on the left. Think of softening the left leg, either kicking up with a soft toe line or a brace into the foot, depending on where you need your stretch today. Take a little check-in, check that your body weight distribution is equal on your 3 points of contact. You're going to use this 3-legged dog to set up a revolved warrior. So you're going to think of stepping through to the inside of your left hand, drop your back leg to 90 and windmill the arms open, taking your hand all the way to the back leg, inverting the front hand, curling it around your head and gently looking up to the palm of that hand that's framing your head. Take a couple of moments here, trying to drop nice and low through the pelvis. Then give me a little pivot on the back toe. Relax the back knee to the floor. Keep the toes tucked under if you can. And find a gentle crescent lunge modification. Janus Asana. Maybe framing the ears on both sides. Keep thinking of tilting your pubic bone to the 12 o'clock position so that you're really working that back hip flexor. Then gently bring the arms down, maybe bringing both hands to the floor. You're going to think of that tiger stretch that we played with earlier on. So you're going to disconnect the back foot from the mat, reach back opposite hand to foot, maybe bringing the weight forward again. See if you can find your balance, maybe keeping your fingertips connected to the mat, or if that feels good, come up, maybe resting hand to thigh, or maybe reaching for the outer quadrant, opposite hand to knee, pulling in with the hand, making the stretch more active as you hug that back foot in towards your bum. Play with it. See what works for you. All right. From here, we're going to ease our way into a lunge line. Tuck the back toe under, bring the knee up off the floor. And maybe just gently sway your weight back and forth. Pausing where you need to, depending on where you're holding your tightness today. Then stopping with the weight pushed back into the back leg. Pause there for a beat before you ease your way into a wide pyramid line. Maybe scooching up the back leg slightly, finding your wide pyramid. Let's start by bringing all the weight into the front leg and coming onto the toes of the back leg, really getting to the arch of that foot. And then drop the weight all the way, anchoring the back foot, and bring the toes of the front foot off the mat. Pause here for a couple of breaths before repeating the cycle again, placing all the weight into the front foot, coming all the way onto the toes of the back foot, really getting into the arch of that foot, getting into the calf. Drop back down. And then using this pyramid line, you're going to set up your pigeon. Maybe finding your way back into your lunge line. And then setting up your front leg, thinking knee and ankle in a straight line or tucking in closer to the perineum. See what works for you. Relax the back leg. Slide, walk, or creep back into your pigeon. Wiggle around. Try to square up through the shoulders and the hips. Once you feel comfortable in your pigeon seat, ease your way onto the forearms if you can. And if that feels good, come into full extension, trying to creep or slide the hands away from you and connect your forehead to the mat. Wherever you decide to be, just close your eyes, take your focus in, and just give me a couple of mindful breaths here, just relaxing into the stretch. Maybe electing to stay here or finding your way into thread the needle, Superundersana, from your current extended pigeon line. We're going to thread towards the left knee. So take a big breath in and take your right hand, threading it underneath your left armpit, almost coming to rest on your right temple and peeping underneath the left armpit as if you were looking for the ceiling, making your whole right shoulder nice and heavy into the mat. Just take a couple of deep breaths here, trying to relax into the stretch. Ease your way back into your extended line and then creep your hands or your way onto the hands and set up head to knee from here. So think of sitting into your left bum bone and swinging the back leg around, aiming for the front corner of your mat. Place the sole of the left leg on the inseam of the right leg. Just take a gentle fold forward, maybe bracing both hands on the outside of the leg, or maybe cupping around. Just do what feels good for you. Maybe using your strap or your block as you come into your little head to knee, Janus Asana. And then using this to set up a little heron line, Cow Chakra, maybe placing the backhand on the mat behind you, tipping off the center line and just taking a nice extended stretch. Even if you're bending the lead leg and hugging it in towards your chest, if extending the leg is not happening for you today. Ease your way back into head to knee, maybe dropping your nose or your forehead a little bit closer to your knee this time. Try to lengthen and relax your breathing. Try not to give me a tense, short, choppy breath. Try to make it long and even. Ease your way from here onto the forearms. So you're keeping your current leg position and you're just trying to drop onto the forearms between the two legs. Almost setting up a Sphinx-like line. Then use this setup to come back into pigeon. Think of your long extended leg and try to swing it behind you, swiveling and readjusting your trunk as you wiggle back into your pigeon pose and try to get a little bit more drop and opening into the groin and the pelvis. Pause here for a few breaths before you ease your way from here into an elbow plank line on the mat. When you're ready for the elbow plank, just tuck the back toe under, float your knee up off the mat. Extend your lead bent leg back and find your elbow plank. Maybe gently playing with the line, swaying the weight back and forward, but try to keep your body line as parallel to the floor as you can and brace the core. Make sure that you're not collapsing through the collarbones and the shoulders. Then start to soften your belly towards the mat and set up a Sphinx line, relaxing the legs soft and in parallel behind you. Don't collapse into the mat. Push off the forearms and think of lengthening through the spine as much as you can. As you come down off your Sphinx line, you're going to set up your swan. Start sliding the hands behind you so that your palms end up towards the lower end of your rib cage. Keep hugging the elbows in. Find that marble underneath your nose. Start rolling it away. Pause with your bottom 3 ribs heading into the mat and drop the shoulders away from your ears. Push up a little bit higher. Bottom rib connected to the mat. Then belly button. Then the 2 hip bones. The pubic bone. The tops of your thighs, on the kneecaps, and the heels of your hand. Bring it back down with the same amount of control. Soft little bend in the elbows. Reconnect the top of your thighs. Then your pubic bone, your 2 hip bones, the belly button, the bottom 3 ribs. The rest of your rib cage follows. Rinse and repeat, or find your little rocking swan, but pistoning up and down, and as you bring the chest down, you lift the legs up behind you. So essentially playing between a leg lift and a chest lift. Pistoning the arms up and down, getting a little bit of heat energy going in the body. As you come down off your last swan, float the legs off the mat. Keep your forehead and your arms connected to the mat as you keep extending through the toes. Then reconnect the legs to the mat and peel your chest up off the mat, keeping your legs and your arms connected to the mat. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Try to use your back strength to hold this frame, and then begin floating your legs and your arms off the mat as you come into full locust Superundersana. Shooting for that bow frame, or maybe giving me more of a parallel line if your back is feeling tender today. If you're comfortable in the locust and you need more work, start thinking bow, Janus Asana. Bending the legs one at a time, reaching for a nice grip position in front of your ankles, almost floating the soles of your feet up towards the ceiling so that you can feel a stretch into the arms, the shoulders, the legs. Glutes are engaged. Back is beautifully rounded. Then start relaxing out of your bow frame. Drop your hands to the mat, other side of your bosom, and push back into child, taking a nice extended stretch here. Maybe walking back through the hands, trying to drop your bottom closer towards your heels. Take a nice extended stretch here. Ease your way from here back into 4-point kneeling. You're going to find your side plank on the left. So my back will be towards you on this side. As you swivel to the left, you can think of swiveling the leg so that you've got the foot stacking behind the knee as you set up your side plank. Give me a nice extended side plank so that you're really opening up through the ribs. And then think of bending the top elbow and knee as if you wanted to tap them towards each other. They don't physically need to tap, and just play with that movement dynamically a few times. Drawing the 2 limbs towards each other and then trying to find that length as you come back to your side plank. Either staying with your extended stretch or morphing into your tiger by reaching for the bridge of the top foot. Kick the foot into your hand. Think of tilting your pubic bone to the 12 o'clock position and hold that stretch. Hold for a few more breaths. And we'll find our way back to 4-point kneeling from here and set up our little cat-cow. Inhale to prepare, giving me a hollow shape through the spine. And then exhale to round out, stretching into the shoulders and the lower back. Start oscillating dynamically between the cat and the cow. And find the breath pattern that works for you. So either 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 if you need a little bit more stretch into the spine and the lower back. Maybe playing with a nice ujjayi exhalation. If you need to decompress a little bit more, use your cat. Let's do one more flow and then we'll set up a gentle camel line from here, Superundersana. Find your way back into table and tuck your toes under. Check that your knees are going to be stacking underneath your hips as you come up. Heel up, find a high kneeling frame. So at first, shoulders, hips, and knees are aligned. Place your hands, palms down, fingertips looking towards the floor. And then think of pushing softly with your palms as if you were trying to coax or bump your hips forward as you think of finding a gentle curve through the spine, trying to float the two shoulder blades together, giving me beautiful expansion through the chest as you take deep inhalations. Try to find stillness within the movement. And then keeping your hands where they are, just lengthen through the spine for a minute. And then take a step forward with the left leg, trying to keep your hands on your bottom, yeah? Trying to keep the back toe tucked under if you can. Gently push forward with the hands as you come into your modified stretch. And then maybe crossing over the midline of the body. So opposite hand to lead leg. Grab with the right hand, push against the lead knee. So there's a little bit of resistance happening there. And then keep gently pushing down onto the lower back with that left palm. Give me a few more breaths here. And then we'll find our way into a lifted gate before we seat the gate. Relax the back knee and foot. Peel up. Place your left hand on the mat. Extend the lead leg, taking a gentle stretch. And if your hands can't connect to the floor, maybe just taking a kneeling stretch here. Maybe keep supporting your back and just reach the other hand long and lengthened for the ceiling. Play with it. Use the lifted gate and then take a gentle seat. Sitting down, extending your left leg out in front of you, keeping the left leg bent, and this time trying to tuck the heel of the back leg as close to your bum as you can. Maybe gently leaning forward, trying to set up your Sphinx line once more, so setting up the forearms softly to frame your lead leg, or maybe wrapping around the foot, finding the bind that works for you, using a strap if you need to, using your block if you need to. Find what works for you. Close your eyes, take your focus in. Give me a couple of moments here. Thinking head to knee. Then maybe getting a little bit of more work in the trunk. Think of bringing your left elbow to the inside of the left leg, push and resist, or give me a big toe lock if you can. Sweep, almost in a bowling-like action, the top arm up. Maybe keeping a half T frame, or bringing the arm closer to your ear, or perhaps reaching for the outer quadrant of your foot. Keep your breathing along and relaxed. Don't tense up your breath work. As soon as you tense up your breath, the body tenses out. If this feels good, maybe change the angle of the bottom arm. Bring the arm in, trying to tuck underneath, and you can bring that back heel closer if you need to. Try to wrap around the ankle of the back leg as you adjust your bind slightly, maybe giving a little bit more rotation through the trunk and peeking around that top elbow as if you were gently trying to look up to the ceiling. As you unbind this time, you're not going to ease your way into child. You're going to swing that back leg forward and you're going to take a little seat here on the mat. Situating yourself so that you've got enough room more or less in the middle of the mat. Bend the knees and set up a boat line. So tipping the weight just off your tailbone, either coming into a tabletop line, bracing behind your thighs, or having the arms long and extended, or coming into a full boat and finding your tipping point. You're holding, try to draw up along the inner thighs, pull up from the pelvic floor towards your waistline, and then give me a fall back into a hollow hold. So almost scooping and hollowing out your belly. Body looks like a little banana or a boomerang, trying to hold it there, weight off the shoulders. And then gently ease your way onto the back. And as you come onto the back, draw the right knee in towards the chest, either staying here, just hugging the knee in, maybe holding behind your thigh, or giving me a big toe lock and come into hand to big toe A. Maybe giving me half a T frame on the B. And you could use a belt, a strap, or a hand towel, or just gently hold onto the back of the thigh if your toe is not accessible. Try to relax both shoulders heavy into the mat. Take a couple of breaths here. Try to iron out that tight kink on the back of the right knee. And then bend the right leg, bringing the arms into T. Reach with the left fingertips for the outside of the right knee and just draw it across the midline of the body, coming into a gentle supine twist. And if you need to, you could place a block just underneath the right knee as you draw it across the midline of the body. Just play where you're comfortable, trying to anchor through your opposite shoulder. So your knee is traveling in one direction and your head is moving in the opposite direction. Ease your way back to center. Extend back into your A-line and try to extend the left leg up at the same time, reaching for both sets of toes and making your hip bones heavy into the mat, or maybe just holding on to the calves or the back of your thighs if the toes are not accessible. Just find a little double stretch here. And then from here, we're going to use that little roll over that we played with last week, toe tapping out as if we were coming into a plow line, and then we're going to rock up. Don't take it too seriously, just play where you're comfortable. Drop the arms at your side. You're going to think of piking your toes up to the ceiling, lifting your tailbone off the mat, coming into a plow, maybe tapping your toes to the mat, and then rocking up to come back into a boat line, maybe holding onto the back of your thighs as you rock back and up. Try to keep your balance. Then drop your legs to the mat, coming into staff pose, sitting up nice and tall and reaching with your fingertips, staying here, or maybe inverting the hands as you interlace them and trying to hook around your toes as you come into a soft forward fold, Paschimottanasana. You could also just use the block around both feet or give yourself a little bit of room between the legs, finding a lean-in position, or if you do have a strap handy or a towel handy, go for it. Use it if you need it. Take a couple of mindful breaths here, thinking nose to knee or chest to thighs. Peel back up and set up your boat line. Tip the weight off your tailbone, maybe tucking behind the legs as you bring them into table, or maybe reaching alongside your table legs or coming into the full Navasana, depending on how strong and connected you feel with the body today. Hold here for a few breaths, then you're going to hollow out your belly as you fall back, giving me a soft, almost like U-like frame on the mat. So your lower back is imprinted, your weight is way off the shoulders, and you've got about 2 fingers of air between the chin and the chest. Then ease your way onto the back as you connect to the spine. Think of bending your left knee, bringing it in, thinking knee to chest. Stay or extend the right leg, maybe holding onto the back of the leg or taking your middle index finger and thumb and giving me a little big toe lock, Peringasana. Maybe opening up your left hand into a soft T. And then just pause here for a couple of breaths and really try to open up that tight kink behind the left leg. Try to relax your breath work, make it long and even. And try to keep your inhalations and your exhalations through the nose so that you're activating into the parasympathetic nervous system. Then bend the right leg, open up your arms into T. Reach left, opposite hand to the leg. So right hand reaching for the outside of the left knee. And then think of drawing that knee across the midline of the body, almost tucking the right hip underneath you as you draw the leg across. Move your head in the opposite direction. So your knee is traveling to the right and your head's looking to the left. Not forcing the supine twist, just playing where your body wants to be. And you might find that you have more range of motion on one side. It's not uncommon. Just notice it. Don't stress about it. Just notice it. Ease your way back to center. Extend back out into the A line. And see if you can mirror image on the other side. Maybe grabbing the big toes on either side, or maybe reaching for the outer quadrant of your legs, maybe the calves or the back of your thighs, or using a belt, or just hands on the floor and kick your legs up towards the ceiling. Do what works for you, yeah? All right, if you manage to connect the big toes, just think of making, just think of the hip and socket, the ball and socket joint of your hip, and just make the ball of the socket, the ball portion of the joint nice and heavy into the mat. Then drop the arms at your side. You're going to pike up into the plow line from here. So toes up to the ceiling. Push off your hands onto the shoulders, coming into a plow, tapping the toes to the mat, then rolling down with control through the spine, rocking up, maybe coming into a little bind behind the thighs, and try to keep the bind behind the thighs as you rock back and forth a couple of times if you can, or just once if you need to find your way. So to find that balance, you need to draw up along the inner thighs and pull up from the pelvic floor. Maybe pause back in your modified boat and then drop your legs down to the mat. Sit up nice and tall in Dandasana, staff pose. Stay or interlace your hands, invert them, hook them around your toes, your feet as you fold forward into Paschimottanasana, and just take a couple of breaths here, at least 20 seconds if you can. Notice your breathing. Try to lengthen and relax it. And gently end off your practice today by peeling up ragdoll style along the center line, floating your hands to pray, and just taking a little bow. Namaste to you all. Thank you so much for coming out and playing with me today. I really hope that you enjoyed today's class. Give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Share your comments and your feedback. Use the display below or reach out on social media. And I shall see you all for Pilates conditioning on the mat tomorrow. Till then, keep it light.